Welcome, ladies and gentlemen. I am Lanolin, and we are back with episode 11 of Feed the Beast Unstable. And as you can see, I've been doing a little bit of work as far as getting my Thaumcraft stuff up and running. And yeah, I think it actually looks pretty good. This building is not quite finished yet, but I have a pretty good idea of how exactly I want to do this, so yeah. It's going to be pretty damn awesome, I think. I think set at 4 blocks, so it like just barely gets me up there. But anyway, yeah, I have a really cool idea in mind on how I want to approach this particular Thaumcraft building, but that is not the focus of today's episode. Today's episode, we are going to focus on the changes and cool new things that have come to Thaumcraft. And as always, if you're not into the spoilers, I recommend you go ahead and close the video now, as we will be diving into, like I said, many new things involved in Thaumcraft 5. The first of which, and in my opinion, probably the best change to Thaumcraft 5, is that you can scroll in and out, zoom in and out of the Thaumonomicon. Oh, if you're a long-time watcher of my series, you know that I almost always complain about that whenever I start up Thaumcraft. Like, man, I wish I could zoom in and out. It's so dumb that I can't. However, with this new functionality, though, I mean, everything was kind of redesigned and moved around and everything, so that progression makes a little bit more sense. It's a little less tedious. And you kind of get to the cool things a little bit earlier on, like, for example, the brand new grappling focus. It's pretty sick. It's pretty sick. I like it. Actually, I could show it off real quick. Oh, yeah. That is damn fine. I like it. It's really cool. He's having some of the research can be a little bit difficult because of the new research system, and he's having a little bit of trouble with one of the, I'm not sure which one he's working on, but he's having some issues. And actually, that brings me up to the next major change in Thaumcraft 5, and that is the research, and the way research is done. Currently, I'm sitting on Crystal Farmer, which is one of the, like, somewhat end-gamey, this guy right here. It pops up once you've done a bunch of research all along the book. So I figured since this was, like, super end-game and not something too terribly complicated, that we could go ahead and see about solving it. So that's going to be most of the focus this episode for Thaumcraft 5, is kind of looking through the research stuff, see how it's changed. So anyway, as you probably noticed, we don't have a big long list of all the different aspects that exist in Thaumcraft anymore. If you're familiar with the old Thaumcraft 4 method of doing research, you typically had to run around, scan things, and collect research notes. I'm just going to ignore him for now. Sorry, buddy. But yeah, you used to have to run around, scan things, and get research points, and then utilize those research points to solve your research, your puzzles over here. That tended to get extremely tedious and kind of was not that fun after you've done it a couple times, or the first time. So Azenor decided to change it up. It's now a little bit more similar to the Thaumcraft 2. In that, again, everything's kind of focused on these primal aspects with a handful of compound aspects that help kind of bring it all together. So what we're going to do is see about solving this guy. And one way that I've found the easiest way to solve these is, A, being familiar with what connects to what, and just a little bit of trial and error. You can just sit here and see if this connects to anything. Nope, doesn't. So we're going to have to find a different way to connect the Ordo and Perditio nodes. How about this? We got Virtuous and Perditio. How about... Does that work? Nope. How about this? Like, this is kind of the way that I've done it, because it doesn't cost you any research points to just kind of test things and try and make stuff, you know, see how it works. So it's worth it to just kind of sit here and mess around and see if you can't figure something out. Now, I'm pretty sure this makes something. Again, this is an early iteration of Thaumcraft, so sometimes, or rather I should say this is a beta build of Thaumcraft 5, so occasionally there are little derps like this where it doesn't actually load up all the different things I could make. But yeah, I might just be being a noob. Looks like I was just being a noob. So Ordo and Perditio, Perditio to Vitreous. So what? So again, it's not too terribly difficult. It's just sitting here on camera. It's like, oh, my brain is melting trying to do this on camera. But we all know this. God. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to solve part of this, kind of get it going, and then I'll come back and kind of walk you through the steps that I went ahead to go ahead and make this going. So give me a moment, and I will return. All right, I'm back, and I figured out what the issue was. The scribing tools needed to be pulled out and put back in. Again, this occasionally happens where it prevents you from creating things, because I tried to actually make this vitreous, and it was like, nope. But then I messed around a little bit and got it to work. So now we can see if we can actually make something with these two. There we go. Back to us, just like I thought. See, I knew it. I knew that I knew that there was something in there that we could make that could connect these guys up, and it just wasn't working. So one of the issues that you'll probably run into is compound aspects. Dealing with compound aspects kind of require you, at least in my experience, to quote unquote waste a couple of research notes, getting everything to connect. Now, I'm sure as time goes on, people will figure out much better methods to complete these research points or research notes, and it'll become the norm. And then but for now, this works for me. It's like the ultra super high level like efficiency that you were required to do in Thaumcraft 4 because of the lack of research points is largely eliminated in this iteration, because if it gets to the point where you're out of research points and you can't actually finish this, you can just throw this away and make another one. I can just toss this out, pop another research, grab some more research notes, and we'll have the ability to start all over. And in fact, I might be able to show you that now. As you can see, okay, so we got 9, 11, I have a few things used up. This thing's kind of working on. I don't want to use this anymore. Screw this. Toss that away. And actually, I need some paper. So let me run over here and grab some paper. I'm very clumsy, I've noticed. Yeah, gotta love the grapple hook, baby. Alright, so now let's go to this. Use scribing tools. Alright, so I got my paper. Let's go ahead and make some paper up real quick. There we go. And boom. Got some new research notes. And it's been completely reset. Gotta love it, man. Gotta love it. All right, so as we figured out that this is easily connected. Oh, whoa, it actually changed it up a little bit. Oh, interesting. So that means we're going to want to approach this from a different angle. We're going to want to do that. And then drop that. So I guess that can change. That can and will change. Wait, why didn't this connect? Oh, I messed up. There we go. Do that. Then we can do that. Nice. And then ordo and permutatio. Make permutatio. I've actually found permutatio to be one of the most common compound aspects that you'll use in research, just because it's made up of two primal aspects, so it's really easy to use it to connect this stuff up. Wait, so what happened? I was trying to link two compounds instead of linking to the primal, then the other. Lol. Yeah, I had a feeling he was misunderstanding how this all works, because I was literally giving him the tools to do it. But he figured it out, and that's fucking awesome. But anyway, okay, so Ordo, Terra, we need to make our way over to here, and I think if we do something like this, we get Metallum. And I guess we can make another Metallum and connect both these dudes up using, I don't know, let's use Ordo. Nice. Same thing goes with like that. Victus. Boom. Connect. Easy. So now Aqua. Now see, I know Aqua and Ignis. I know that there's not anything that they make. They don't make anything. All they do is just go back and forth and eat each other up. That's no fun. So let's actually move back down here, mess around a little bit with these guys instead. What does that give us? Vactuous. We know this actually. See, this one's a little weird because yeah. Actually, JK, we actually want to use air for this, and like that. Oh, it's not going to connect up. All right, so it looks like we can't actually connect these dudes up. Like the way this is, it's not going to work because of the way it is. All right, so let's move on over here. Air, Vitium. Actually, we might. Yeah, there we go. We can do it just like that. Perfect. All right, so air to fire. What's that give us? Lux. Easy. So this last one, a little complicated because aqua and fire, there's no way to connect those guys directly. So we have to find something else that works. Normally what I do is I go into the Thaumonomicon and try and find an aspect or two aspects that contain similar primal aspects. So we have Gelum, Mortis. Oh, there we go. Actually, there's our solution right there. Make Gellum, make Mortis. So we just need Perdicio and Aqua, and Perdicio and Ignis. There we go. There we go. So the Mortis we can connect here. The Gellum we can connect here. And then we connect both of them here. And that is a completed research node. Hooray! See, it's actually really simple. And I found that I was able to cruise through all of these research notes, like everything that I've researched. I haven't researched too much. I still have a lot of wand stuff to research. But I've done a lot of the alchemy research and a good chunk of the artifice research, just because fun gadgets. And I really want to make the thermostatic harness so I can fly. But I did that all in like a couple hours. Like, it was really easy. And as anyone that has watched me for a long time knows, I have the memory of a bird. So I'm constantly going back and reflecting on this list, as well as pulling up a list over on my second monitor to reflect on as I'm doing this. But once you kind of get the hang of things, like I mentioned, you will start to realize that you'll use a lot of the same compound aspects over and over again, like Permutatio, Potentia, Mortis, and I think that's really it. I think those are the main ones that I found myself using a lot. Modus is also pretty good, but it actually doesn't come up as often. Mostly because air doesn't come up that often. But there are a couple good ones. Remember, from what I have found, most of the stuff that is made up of two primal aspects are going to be extremely useful for connecting up your research notes. So just keep that in mind. Just keep that in mind. It is, I mean, far and away, it is a lot less tedious than it was in Thaumcraft 4. So welcome changes, to say the least. Oh, finally, I can start messing around with taint. With the changes to taint, getting to the ethereal bloom is really, really important. And if you want access to the ethereal bloom, you need to scan some taint, which can be very difficult sometimes because, honestly, you don't really want to find a taint biome. If you find a taint biome, your world might be at risk. So I got kind of lucky in that I got attacked by an infected Thaumcraft mob. Like, it was an infected skeleton or something, and he either infected or invested. But either way, whenever he attacked me, he would drop taint goo everywhere, and I just scanned it up with my thermometer, which, by the way, has changed just a little bit. Oop. Yeah, but I just scanned it with my thermometer. There is a little bit of scanning still. I should mention that there is a little bit of scanning still, but it's all very, very minor. Most of the power of Thaumcraft comes from the aura around us, which is very reminiscent of Thaumcraft 2, Thaumcraft 3, even Thaumcraft 1 a little bit, where all of your thaumic energy comes from just the world, everything around you. And up there in the top left, you can kind of see our power levels, if you will, for each different primal aspect. So if we push F while holding the thermometer, we can see that we kind of cycle through all the different primal aspects: air, ignis, aqua, terra, ordo, perdicio, and Vitium. Wow, it's actually really high right here. I need to be a little bit careful. Your Vitium levels are your taint levels, and you really want those to be kind of as low as possible. When they start to get really high, you'll start to see crazy things start happening, like taint storms, monsters showing up, just overall bad things happen. So you definitely want to make sure that in Thaumcraft 5, you are a responsible thaumaturge, and don't just dump taint into the air and flux everything up, and whenever your crucible gets filled, you don't really want to just let it empty out into the air. You want to make sure that you're using everything up. But that's okay, because in the future you can kind of mess with that as you get deeper into Thaumcraft. But what I actually wanted to demonstrate today, aliside the research note changes, was over here. You've probably noticed that I have one arcane levitator that's working, and one arcane levitator that isn't working. This kind of goes back to the aura levels that I was talking about, and how they can affect your constructs and your thaumaturgy and all the different cool stuff you want to do. Because a lot of the power is drawn either from your wand or from the aura, you want to be cognizant of your aura levels. If you'll notice, my air aura level is actually really shit in most places around my base, largely because my wands use a lot of air. Like every time I use this, that uses a little bit of air. And it will immediately start recharging from the aura around us. This can also be seen in my awesome V stone that I found. It collects V for me and then stores it, and then once I need it in a wand, it'll dump it into the wand. It's pretty nice. However, you run into situations like this, where you have an arcane levitator that just isn't working, and then this one is working. Yeah. So if you look at the top left, you'll notice that as I move around, the air levels all change. That's because each aspect is... it depends on the chunk that you're in. So it changes per chunk. So these chunks are all like crazy amounts of air over here. This one, all sorts of air. And then we get over here, and it's kind of low. A, because this guy uses the air aspect whenever it lifts me up. And B, this guy, he has nothing. If we stand right on top of him, it's totally dead. There's no air in this chunk at all. And we can zoom in and see that. Or maybe it's because we're right on a boundary. Well, either way, it's not happy with its location. It has no access to any air at all. So we need to do something about that. If we pick this guy up, which I don't have an axe on me, so my bad. But yeah, if we pick him up and move him just a little bit over to about here, he should turn on. Or he's going to turn some dumbass direction. There. And just like that, he's back on. Nice. Now, honestly, when I originally put that guy down, there was enough air in the aura to like let him work. So I'm not sure exactly what drained all the air out of this node. I mean, maybe it was the arcane levitator. It's just this particular chunk just is really weak, I guess, for air. But anyway, let's switch us back to the full shebang. Let's see everything. There we go. So now this guy should be able to lift us up quite easily. And he's set on 8, so he's going to lift us up like way high. But it uses stuff per second. Like every second, it's going to suck up some air out of the aura. And if you continue to use it, eventually all the air will run out, and you'll fall. Now, I'm not sure if you drain all of the aspects out of a particular area, if it like kills that area, like if it'll never ever come back again. That I'm not sure of. So I'm hoping that if I let this area sit here without this arcane levitator pulling on the air levels, it'll come back alive, but I'm not sure. I'm not sure. It's been a while since I've used it, and it hasn't really come back, so we shall see. Point being, it's worth it to turn these puppies down a little bit so they're not sucking up all the area, or all the air out of the area. So let's do that, actually. So real quick, let me hop down here and take care of this. It's easy to do, just the underside. Just right-click it. I want this to be on range at the 4 blocks, 8 V a minute. So, I mean, it doesn't use, like, barely anything, but it's still very wise that you are cognizant of the fact that you are draining the power out of the places around you. So, infusion crafting is very much still the same. However, the way that we get V to utilize in the infusion crafting process is very, very different. Or I should say the process is different. The process that the infusion altar or runic matrix uses to pull those aspects are still similar with the warded jars and such. But other than that, it's very different. And I think that's something that we're going to explore in the next episode, because I'd really like to start making some of this cool Thaumcraft stuff. I want an axe of the stream, and I want whatever the shovel is called, I don't remember. And a few other cool stuff, like the thermostatic harness, etc. So, what we're going to do next episode is come back, and we're going to take a look at this guy right here, Essentia Distillation. We want to make the Essentia Smeltery. We also want to make a few arcane alembics, which have also got a nice fancy new texture. And a few other things, like the Essentia tubes, maybe some advanced Essentia tubes. I think the Essentia Smeltery, requires 350 aspect, which is a lot. That's a lot. I don't have that much. So we'll probably just start with very simple stuff and work up from there. So, with that, thank you for watching, guys. I have been Lanolin. Like I said, we are going to come back next episode and continue on with our Thaumcraft shenanigans. We're going to mess around with the Essentia Smeltery Distillation and that whole process and see about maybe actually getting some awesome enchanting stuff done. Or I should say infusion crafting stuff done. So, again, thanks for watching, guys. I have been Lanolin, and I will see you next time. Bye.